Okay, something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, for a long time now, is an issue I have overall with this journey and this process, and how it's more than just like the weight and the food addiction and the other stuff I'm going through. It's really interesting when I started the process working with, again, I don't know what to call her. I really need to figure it out. Life coach, emotional breakdowner of barriers, whatever it is that I call her. When I started working with her, one of the first questions she asked me, what's really important to me? What are my core beliefs? I was able to list off a bunch, but the one thing that kept coming to mind was freedom. And that word just resonated with me in so many different aspects of my life, specifically with work and wanting to start my own business and not being tied to the 9 to 5 corporate life. I hate that when I have to book a flight or make a doctor's appointment, I have to do it around my work schedule. And I do have a very flexible company, so I'm not complaining there, but I still feel guilty, or like I can't fly home during a certain time because it's during the workday, or I have to be at this meeting at an exact time. And I'm not saying if I own my own business, that stuff's not going to happen. But when you're just like in control almost of your own destiny, it's a little bit different. So that word freedom just means so much to me in general. That's something that's really important. When I look at my life and how I'm extremely independent. I always have been. I've always been the type of person to not listen to other people. If somebody tells me what to do, I tend to do the opposite. I'm told it's called a mismatched brain. That's the type of brain that I have. They say that those that are very successful have mismatched brains because somebody tells them they cannot do something, they're going to want to do it 10 times harder and they'll find a way to figure it out. That's how I am. I think that's something that always was confusing to me as to why I couldn't be successful in weight loss or food addiction, because I knew it was the worst thing for me. And for some reason, like my brain just kept telling me to go, go, go. And I couldn't get out of it. And that was always really hard. But if anybody ever gave me like weight loss advice, which again, it's not just about the weight for me, it was about so much more. But if anybody tried to tell me anything, I just did the exact opposite of what they said. I had to come to this on my own. I had to do this on my own. So I'll always be like anti whatever anybody else is trying to tell me. So when it comes to the actual weight stuff in general, I think about freedom, and I more so recognize this as I have lost weight. Now, it's really hard to reconcile because the weight that I'm at right now was, let's say, my heaviest weight 2 years ago. And the things that I'm doing now, I was not able to do then because I was so insecure and really like in a very unhealthy mindset because that was my heaviest. Well, then I got to another record for myself and I hit a new high. So this weight now, 35 pounds less than that high, I feel invincible. I'm not saying I can go run a marathon, but definitely there's a difference in how I feel and what I'm able to accomplish. So I talk about freedom in terms of being able to do what I want versus being able to do what I can. And this is something that's kind of confusing to wrap my head around, because I'm just going to give an example of something as simple as a walk. Going on a walk has always been something that is extremely challenging for me as a heavier person. I don't think I ever liked working out. Like, I think back to the days when I was thinner, going to a gym was just never something I enjoyed doing. I know a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy it, but they feel good after. It never did anything for me. It never made me feel good after. A lot of times after working out, actually, I felt sick, which is weird. Still haven't figured that one out. But I look at something as walking almost as like a privilege, because I wanted to just be able to say, hey, I want to go for a walk, have a casual walk around, go walk as far as I can and walk back. And I just like, I physically couldn't do that. I want everybody to picture your weight now doubling that weight in physical weights and putting a backpack on and holding those weights and walking around or walking up the stairs. That's what I have been carrying around for a very long time. Obviously, my weight has increased gradually, but like the weight that I'm at currently is double what I know a lot of my like friends and family are. That's something that's crazy to think about, how straining that is on your body. And I felt trapped. Like I was just stuck. No matter what I did, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. No matter what I thought, I couldn't get out there and I couldn't go for the walk. I just learned that the more weight I gained, the less freedom I had because I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do or that everybody else was doing around me. And that was really frustrating. I still have those restrictions, but I'm feeling the excitement of that starting to melt away. So many things you're restricted on, like what I'm able to do, clothes I'm able to wear. I want the freedom to express myself, and I haven't been able to in so long because I can't tell you the last time I put on an outfit and was like, oh wow, I look really good, or I really like these clothes. It's always just been trying to find the most inexpensive clothes so I can have some sort of a variety, but not spending too much money on things because I never planned on staying at that size or that weight. So I was locked in to whatever was an option for me at the sizes I was at. And I sized out of a lot of companies. I mean, I was getting the highest size, especially when you're buying the cheap clothes from like China. Their version of like a 4XL is an American 2XL. But I was still sizing out of them and I would get the highest size and it wouldn't fit me. And every item is different and it's fast fashion. So it's a different world. But still, again, you lose the freedom to choose what you want to wear because you just have to wear what fits. You end up keeping clothes that you don't like because you're like, you know what, that fits. At least I have another option. You lose that freedom to express yourself. And I love clothes. And I'm not saying I love, Paris runway fashion, but I do think that we all have our own like personal style. And I don't even know what mine is anymore because I've lost that for a long time. And I say 10 years because I've gradually gained the weight over 10 years. And every milestone, negative milestone, I guess you can say, I would hit in terms of gaining weight was always the heaviest for me. So I was always at my most insecure and I never felt like I had clothes that I could wear or want to wear. Now, I'd be dying to go back to how I was 8 years ago, despite at that moment in my life feeling so insecure and hating what I looked like and thinking I had nothing to wear. Now that like I know more options and maybe how to style my like body a little bit differently, like I would know what to wear. But it's just an interesting mindset to have to shift into like, what am I going to wear when I have the option to buy whatever I want? Like, that's something I am so excited for. The same thing goes for shoes. I'm very limited in the shoes that I can wear. Like, heels are just an absolute no go for me. I just, again, imagine taking your weight and doubling it. Imagine how your feet feel after a night out in heels. Now, take your weight and double it and add that pressure. That's, it's rough. It's really challenging, and definitely not fun. So even just wearing regular shoes, like my feet hurt at the end of the day because of a lot of the weight coming down on my feet. So just like, again, that freedom to like wear what I want. But going back to like the freedom of activities, I feel like a lot of my last couple of years I've had to pretend that I'm like not interested in doing something to make myself feel better about not being able to do it. I just looked back on a family trip we took last summer, and we go to Hilton Head and ride bikes. The sand on the beach is really flat. And it's something I've struggled with in the past because it's a physical activity. So in years past, like it always has been hard for me. But like this past summer, I was like the heaviest that I have ever been. And I knew I could not get on that bike. Like the physical pain from like sitting on that seat, the physical strain of like riding to the place that we were going to, that was tough. And the whole family and also my family friends who we were with all went to this bar. It's fun. I want to be with everybody, and I just kind of had to pretend like I don't care. Now, was I okay sitting by the pool by myself reading my book with my dog? Yeah, I was fine, but would I have rather been there? Of course. And I had to tell myself like I'm not interested in that, just to save face a little bit. And it sucks. Like stuff like that really sucks. The amount of times I've said no to plans because I knew I wouldn't have anything new to wear, or I think about something as simple as like what kind of chair are we sitting in, because I had a hard time like even fitting in some chairs, which seems so crazy, but these are the things that you have to think about when you're at a bigger size, like going to like a theater or a stadium with chairs that are all connected. Like the whole time I'm sitting there, like I'm overstaying my share of the chair. Am I getting in the way of somebody else? Like this is so uncomfortable. Um, God, like everybody's judging me, everybody's looking at me. Like these are the things that I have thought about. So I've lost again that freedom to do what I want, and to go places that I want to go because of the weight that I have been at. When I moved down to Florida, I knew absolutely nobody. I had my grandma, she lives 20 minutes away, but I needed friends. And I know a lot of events are exercise focused or fitness focused, and that's how you meet people. One of my friends now, who I met through my building, runs a walking group, and these are the things that are how people meet. And I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't join those groups because I would be left behind, or I was sweating or out of breath. And I know everybody would have been welcoming and nice. I could not be a part of a walking group. I was too uncomfortable. I knew that that wasn't going to work for me. So again, like the freedom of like going out, doing what you want, joining an exercise class, going on walks with people, I lost that because of the lack of ability that I had. And then there's the whole freedom around my brain and the way that I think and the food and the addiction. I never felt like I was making decisions that I was free. In a sense, I was ordering whatever I wanted, and maybe I thought that was freedom because I was like, I don't care what anybody says. I'm doing what I want. I can order the food I want. I'm an adult. I'm free to make those choices. But the truth is, I was not free. I was trapped by the emotions of my brain that were causing me to make harmful choices to my body, which is really frustrating. And then I would have to work hard to make a choice to eat healthy. Therefore, I felt like I was going against what I really wanted to be doing, which was eating unhealthy, therefore losing my freedom of choice. It sounds so weird to say that out loud, but that's how it has been the past 10 years. I just never felt like I was making the right decision, and it was always a struggle. Now that I've gotten past the hump and I have had freedom around my food and eating, it's not even an option. It's not even a second thought to me anymore. It's just I'm eating because I'm hungry, I'm satisfying that craving, and then I'm done. It's such a different mindset than what I'm used to from the past. I have like literally gotten away from like the confines of my own brain when it comes to food addiction. And I think something that's really interesting is, and I'm going to go more in depth about this on another, I don't know what I'm calling this, episode, podcast, whatever it is, video. Something I learned throughout this process that I think was always hard for me to focus on the future, because I always thought that like I would cure this issue and I'll never be able to eat the foods that I want again. Or I just like this was like my personality for so long. That person that I was, the binge eating, the food. Don't get me wrong, like I'm a food lover. I love trying new foods. I love eating, but I was giving in to every single binge and urge, and that wasn't good. It doesn't have to be so black and white. I always thought that once I was cured from the food addiction, that I would never have a craving or an urge to binge. And the truth is, that doesn't go away. You just know how to deal with it, or you just know, like, I don't need that. Like, I just don't need to give in. Whereas in the past, I couldn't let it go. Like, if I saw somebody eat like a Chick-fil-A sandwich on social media on a Monday, it would sit in my head all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then finally on Saturday, I'm like, let me just get it so I can satisfy that itch. That's how it felt for me. And I would have to do that, or else I'd be binging on something else, maybe something else that was unhealthy. I'd maybe try and satisfy it and get, a grilled chicken sandwich from somewhere else that may be healthier. Didn't matter. I needed that Chick-fil-A. And that's what the problem was. So I look at even this past weekend, I went out to dinner and one of my friends got a side of French fries. French fries are the one thing that I've always loved. Even when they're bad, they're good to me. I just love them. But right now, I'm avoiding potato. Again, it's not forever. I told myself in the future, you can have your French fries. But for right now, you just don't need it. And I have no desire to have them. Did I have an urge? Did I remember how much I loved French fries? Did I think about the taste if I were to have one? Yeah, that did not go away. But I didn't have a desire to have it. I was fine sitting there next to it, and I was okay with not eating. Like, I was fine with what I decided to have instead. And that's a mindset I've never had, because in the past it was like torture. I was restricting myself from having these French fries. It wasn't like the freedom of my own choices. Like, my brain, I was forcing myself to be like, you cannot have that. That is really bad for you. That's going to ruin all the progress that you have made. And I would just completely lock it out. And now, like over this past weekend, I was able to sit next to somebody eating French fries and be totally fine with the freedom of the choice that I made. An urge comes in, and the choice that I made was, you just don't need it. I don't desire it. It's not necessary. And I was okay with that decision because genuinely I like meant it, which I have not experienced in a very long time. So yes, I miss the freedom to eat whatever I want, but I now have the freedom to control those urges and desires. And one day when I get to that point, I will be able to eat whatever I want. But for right now, these are the choices that I'm making, and I feel good about them. Anyways, you know what they say, freedom is not free. And no, while I did not go and serve my country, I sacrificed a lot in my own life for myself to have this freedom mentality. It's something that's very important to me. It's something that will clearly always remain a core value for me. It's been in my head for so long. All I want is the freedom to own my own life, to be my own boss, to be responsible for the money that I make, for the weight that I am at, for the people I surround myself with, for the activities that I do, for how I travel, for the gifts I decide to buy for people, for the things I decide to buy for myself. I just want to be able to own that. And I think there is a big difference between independence and freedom. While I've been independent for a very long time, I've lived by myself for years. I figured it out. I rely heavily on my family for emotional support and bouncing things off of them. I mean, I'll go into the suppressed emotions another time because I don't fully talk about my emotions, but I do rely on family and friends a lot for decision making and stuff like that. And I'm a very independent person, but I feel like I have been trapped for a very long time, and that freedom is not something I've experienced. So the more I go through this journey, the more weight that fades away. I am starting to regain that sense of freedom, and it feels really good. I still don't know where I'm going to be posting these yet. Maybe Instagram, maybe YouTube privately. I'm not sure yet. But if you made it this far, I love to see who did. Even if you don't reach out to me, that's fine. Comment. Let's see, freedom. Comment an eagle, a bald eagle emoji. I think there is one. If you can't find one, a bird. And it'll let me know that you got to the end of this. But thank you for listening. These are my long form versions of what I usually rant about on the Instagram. So excited to start this process, and there's many more to come because I have a lot to say.